Wait till we get rolling here, and then. So you would still be able to go into NoodleTools because you don't need Gmail for that. So you're going NoodleTools.com. The login then is the first 4 of your last name, first 3 of your first name, and then graduation year. And then NHSD is your password. Oops.
What's our login again?
Should be NHSD. So I'm going to have one window open that has my CHS SPAR project. And then Blake, is it asking you to revalidate?
Yeah.
NHLIB for both. And Josh, just like keep an eye to help them with any of those things. And then the other window you would want to have open is Google Classroom.
Yeah, I switched to my computer to 22.
I'll worry about that later.
Okay, sorry.
Now, in Google Classroom, so I got a window open where I got my project. And remember, we're in the CHS SPAR, and you can even take this middle tab over here in Noodle Tools and switch that one over to Sources, because we're going to be adding sources. In CHS Argumentation, if I go to Classwork and I bumped it up to the second topic is Common Websites, which is where you're going to have access to a lot of different resources. In the Common Website setting, I do have a link to Noodle Tools in case you need that one. But you'll see that I have the NH library databases, all sides, procon.org, and then the IDBA website. Blake, you can still access these things. You're just not going to have the links for them through Google Classroom. Couple things for you to understand. The first one that I really want to take a look at is going to be the NH library databases. But the first one that you have there under Common Websites, I have 4 sources that would kind of link up with the topics that we are taking a look at. So under the potential SPAR debate resources, I have a link to PBS, which is League of Denial. It's a documentary about concussions. It's strictly video, although there is like a transcript that you can take a look at. Lucas, I'll get to you here in a second. But it's like an hour and a half, actually an hour 53 documentary about concussion protocol with NFL. The first 15 minutes, it's actually really nice because it focuses on Mike Webster, who was center for Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's like a whole Pittsburgh backdrop, taking a look at what's kind of going on in his life. So this would be one that if you were going to kind of watch in class, you'd want to have earbuds for. But it kind of starts with the whole idea about concussions in football, which we're taking a look at not having contact football prior to 9th grade. I have a bell schedule on here, and the bell schedule is for State College area high school, which by Penn State. They were ones where they really kind of did revamp their bell schedule. Their start time is now 8:40, which I know we kind of for the resolution have a later start time, but it kind of gives you an idea as to how this could be implemented. The nice thing about it is also you can kind of get background information about the bell schedule as to how they went about making changes and all that kind of stuff to it. Again, it's not what we necessarily proposed with, I think we had a 9:30 start time, but it at least kind of gives you an idea as to different ways that they could do it. They do block scheduling, so you'd be looking at like, a class for upwards of an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half, as opposed to like just 40 minutes or something. So their breakdown's a little bit different. I also did a thing about vaping lung disease coming from CDC. It was I think a USA Today article, yeah, but CDC reporting about possible vaping-related illnesses with the whole idea about government regulation of personal well-being. So just like a sample of an article that you could kind of take a look at. And then the last one is looking at Caroline Calloway. And I was kind of thinking of this with the social media, where she's a media influencer with Instagram, and kind of talking, if you're unfamiliar with her, gives a little explanation and why she's kind of in the news. This one was a little bit of a, this one's blocked, BuzzFeed? Okay. Some things you have to do at home. Even going through Google Classroom, it was still blocked. Okay. I might be able to get it unblocked. We'll see. Probably. But those were just ideas of places that could kind of start to take a look if you were looking for specific things about our particular articles.
I forget the password.
NHSD, NHSD. Take note that with the rubric that you got, 90 seconds, 45 seconds, okay, is the speaking time. You know you're going to be doing one of these 4 topics. So you want to develop pro and con arguments for each one. You'll be able to bring up any kind of resources you want with you up to the podium. So if you want to take a piece of like notebook paper and fold it in half and have affirmative on one side, negative on the other, you can do that. If you're a note card person and you want to have note cards, you can certainly do that. If you want to type something on Google Docs and print it out, you can certainly do that. You can't bring a laptop up with you, but if you want to do something on Google Docs and print it out, you can. There's not a minimum as the number of note cards, number of sources, things like that you have to use, but the idea is you want to give yourself enough content so that you can talk about the designated topic and the side for that 90 seconds and for that 45. Certainly, I think it's a good idea to incorporate sources, but it doesn't mean that you need to be coming up with like 5, 6, 7 websites that you keep talking about. The source that most people tend to forget about is the one attached to your neck. Don't forget about your head, because you want to start with there. What are reasons that you think the government should regulate personal well-being? What are reasons that you don't think they should be regulating personal well-being? Start with your own rationale, and then you want to look up support for that. I don't want you going to Google and typing in, should the government regulate our personal well-being? Because at that point, you're not really getting your own argument. In Google Classroom, what I have here for common websites, the North Hills Library database we're going to take a look at, and then a couple other things just to let you know. The International Debate Association website, it's idebate.org. They have a lot of topics that are broken down, so things like social media would certainly be on there and things of that nature, sleep, homework. Procon.org is the same way. A website that's nice to take a look at, and I just kind of starting to become familiar with this one, is called All Sides. What All Sides does is it looks at media bias, so it'll let you know which sources are going to kind of tend to lean to the left and going to lean to the right, and which ones are going to be more in the center, so they're going to be objective. So what you can certainly do here is they have topics, but it lets you know, is there any kind of bias that you need to be aware of that could be taking place. It's also good where you can kind of see how headlines vary dependent upon whether that news source is going to be coming from a left-right perspective or what's going to be in the center. But here's where I want you to start, is going to be in the library. So we're going to North Hills Library databases. Notice I have a link to library database passwords as well, which you sometimes are going to need for when you're on district and both at home. Blake, you can just go to like nhsd.net and there's a thing for libraries, a link that you can go to from there that'll get you. For us, we're going to go to library. This is going to be big because I'm going to show you how to save time when it comes to putting in your sources. The databases that people find most useful, probably for this class, are going to be Opposing Viewpoints, which has the yin-yang symbol, SIRS Knowledge, which folks tend to like, and then also like Issues and Controversies with like Facts on File. And there's certainly some other ones that you can take a look at, but those are the ones that I think people tend to like the most. I'm going to go to Opposing Viewpoints. If I go to Opposing Viewpoints, it's probably going to ask me to log in. If we get there. It didn't ask me to log in, so that's good. If at home it asks you to log in, remember you can go to library databases and you have Opposing Viewpoints with our famous Lupsuag username. At home or here?
Here.
Is it working right now?
I think it was the one for servers.
We'll take a look at it. So when I go into Opposing Viewpoints, browse issues, what it'll do is it gives me kind of breakdown of a whole bunch of topics and whatnot that I'm looking at. I'm not worried about finding something that fills in with what we're specifically looking at. I'm just going to go to pop culture, take a look at an article because I want to show you how you can cite it. within their issues, they'll give you viewpoints that are going to be kind of for or against it. So you can see things, and really with pop culture, I bet there probably would be some things so far as like social media that we'd be able to kind of take a look at. I'm just going to click on a website. Reality TV producers should be responsible for participant well-being, which doesn't really tie in with what our article is, but a little bit like the government one. At the bottom of articles, if you find an article that you like, notice it gives you a source citation. So this is something I want to use. I'm going to copy and paste this. So I highlight it. I'm going copy. I'm going back into Noodle Tools. I am going to create now, since I'm up here in the Sources tab, I'm going to create a new source. Database is where I'm at. Because it's not website, but because I'm going through database to locate it, I'm just going to simply go with database, and then I am going to hit journal. Here's the thing that is going to save you time. As opposed to running through and filling in all this information, up here at the top it says quick cite. I go copy and paste a citation. I can now go into this text box and I can paste in the source that I copied and pasted. So in my article, source citation, copied it. In Noodle Tools, I hit database. I went to this quick cite option under database, copy and pasted right in here. The important thing is I don't want to save, but I want to save and add annotation. So down here at the bottom, not save, but I'm going to do save and add annotation. So down at the, so did you copy and paste in the source? Down at the bottom, there's the two green options. One says save, one says save and add annotation. I'm going to save and add an annotation.
Do you want us to put it in the publication?
You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Everything you got in the copy and paste will take care of it. Morgan, you saw where we're at with the, okay. Here's the part that folks forget. In the annotation, you need to add 2 sentences. And you can number them 1 and then 2. You have to do this for all of your sources. The first one is you are identifying the assignment that this is for. So all of your sources for right now could go, this is for my pop culture spar debate. Second sentence is, what's the main piece of information you're getting from this source? This source is providing background about reality TV shows. I'm cheating because I didn't really read the article. But you're going to do 2 sentences. What's the assignment, which is going to be the same for all of them at this point, and then what's the main thing that you are getting from the source, and then I'm going to save and close. So when I now go back to my sources, I should have a citation, and down at the bottom it's going to show me what those 2 sentences are. So when you have your 50 sources, you're getting a half point for the citation. You're also getting a half point for that 2-sentence explanation. Sources that you cannot use would include why? I have nothing against Wikipedia. Okay, it's probably just as reliable as most of like the encyclopedias that are in the library. But I want you to get sources that are like firsthand. I don't want the summary coming from Wikipedia. Now, what could you use Wikipedia for? General background, and if they're cited, you could use those sources down at the bottom for it. So you can kind of use it as a gateway, but you're not going to simply cite Wikipedia. You're not going to simply cite Google. Okay, and that same thing kind of holds true for the other sources that are listed in here, where the international debate in procon.org, you can't cite those sources directly, but those websites provide footnotes, which gives you a whole bunch of information that you can take a look at underneath. So if I go to something like procon.org, I'm just going to go to school uniforms because it's right here. When you take a look then, they'll outline some arguments for and against, but they also then give you footnotes as to where they're getting numbers. So you could certainly click on those footnotes, and then you'll have access to all of the information that they were taking a look at. So it's not links, but it's certainly something that you could probably still use to your benefit to find.
Freshman year, I used this site like all the time for conference.
Yeah, it's good. Like the stuff on there is going to be is validated that it's credible stuff. Morgan, you said that SIRS was given problems.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe she wrote the password or something wrong up on the board. I didn't realize that it was in there.
Okay, well let's.
Oh no, I did use it from like the paper too, and it didn't work.
All right, let's give it a shot here. So.
The database I did yesterday said I couldn't use it because it was a blocked word.
Database through the library, or was it?
It might have been one you listed. I honestly don't remember which one it was. But it said there was a blocked word, so I couldn't.
Okay. That's something that I can always request that, hey, can you make this available? All right, so. Oops. PL2591H LUPSOAG.
For what?
Morgan, it looks like right now it's okay. One thing that sometimes,
Using my iPad.
yeah, it just because the one and the H look similar. PL2591H is the like customer number. Sometimes people go P12591 or something like that, and then it's LUPSOAG. But it did just simply get me in, and SIRS is the same way as what we just looked at with opposing viewpoints. Where if I take a look at something, and again, I'm going through this just quick to get to an article. Down at the bottom, they have the citation, or I can copy and paste it right here. They export to EasyBib, which is not what we're using. But down at the, well, I guess it's just in that little box right there. But when I go to cite, I can literally take that citation, I can highlight it, I can hit copy, which they have right there. I go back into NoodleBib. I'm going to go, again, same thing, new source, database. I'm going to hit journal, and then I'll go into quick cite.
Are we just doing this? Sorry, John.
I'm just doing it to show it to you. I would start, then looking for things that you would want. But the part, that, again, that people tend to confuse is make sure you hit save and add an annotation. You're just giving me, again, a 2-sentence. What's the assignment, and what's the main reason that you're looking at that source? Yes?
All my the source I just made is with all my other sources.
Mhm.
Like that from the past. Am I doing it wrong?
Wait, run that one by me again?
So all my sources, like I have sources from like another project I did last year.
Yeah.
And like the source I just made is with those two.
So you're in the wrong folder.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
That I
Okay. What you would do, and you can kind of follow along on here, because the same thing actually is going to work for us anyway, because we're created 2 folders. You wouldn't. I mean, you're going to do this now because you're in the wrong folder. But for everyone else, we got 2 folders. We got SPAR, which we're saving these sources in. Once you are done with the SPAR folder, you would want to hit the little check boxes that are next to the citations. All right. And again, you don't want to do this yet, but after you have all your sources, then you're going to go to copy. So I hit copy. By default, it has the project I have open. I would want to copy to another project, and then I could put it in my CHS ARG folder, the one that is shared with me, and then I'll see all the sources that you have. So if your sources by accident, Josh, are in a different folder, you could do this. Just make sure you switch it, not from the project I have open, because it'll then just double your sources, but click another project in this folder, click CHS ARG, submit. Now those sources have been exported to that other one. All right. For most of us, we'll wait until we have our sources in there. Then you can do it as one big bulk load. But then by it going into ARG, that's the one that I see. So right now, I probably won't see how many sources you have because this isn't your shared folder. But we'll create multiple assignment folders and then just paste those things over into the shared folder, and I then have access to it.
So the sources you use for this project, you can still use that version of the sources.
Correct. Now, and here's the thing, it's 50 sources that you consider. It's not 50 sources that you use. So let's say that, Lexi, you end up doing North Hill's start time should not be before 9:30 and you take the affirmative. All of the sources that you found for numbers 1, 3, and 4 count towards the 50. It's not just the speech that you gave, but it is for everything that you did. It'll be, I mean, you'll get to pick in the sense that someone will choose topic and the other person will choose side. What we'll do is, since there's 16 of us, we'll have 8 debates. I'm going to have each one in there 3 times. So you can kind of like, all right, there's less chance of me getting number 1 because 2 people have already done it. But there's potential that we might not literally debate one of those topics. But each topic will be in there 3 times. We are going to be doing debates on Tuesday. Originally, we were going to do it Monday. With me not being here and a day later being able to show you how to put your sources in and copy, citing, and all that stuff, I want to make sure you still have a fair amount of time to look at things. You are going to have to find sources at home. I know a lot of people go, okay, well, on Wednesday I can do one topic, and then on Thursday another, and then on Friday, and then on Monday. It's going to take you longer than that because it takes a while. So you're kind of accumulating sources. If you can find your own sources, all right? I don't care if you look up stuff on Google, but I want you to make sure you are finding sources that are credible in the sense that you have a publication, you have a parent organization, you have an author. I want you to stay away from blogs. I think a good place to kind of start is also that All Sides website. Because it'll kind of let you know what are some biases that you're taking a look at. If you end up using like any of the sources that I provided as potential SPAR debate resources, these are all websites. So you would have to manually cite them. You would have to manually enter the website information, which makes it a little bit more complicated. The nice thing about the database is you get the citation, you can copy and paste it in. It does save you a little bit of time. But you can certainly use other sources. You just have to manually enter those things in.
So we're finding information on all 4 of them?
Right. So really, you're looking up 8 arguments because you're looking at all 4, but also pro-con. Now, if you play your cards right, you could eliminate one of those. So, I don't know, looking at it, someone goes, yeah, I can't argue against number 3. If Josh doesn't want to argue negative for number 3, and he gets the option to choose topic, what should he do? Not choose number 3. If he gets the option to choose side and number 3 is chosen, well, if you mess that up, that's your fault, whichever Josh we're talking about. But you should be able to play your cards right where, in theory, you could eliminate one argument that you don't want to touch, at which point you'd be doing like 7 arguments instead of 8.
Yeah.
You understand the logic behind that? Okay. So we need Google password for you, but you were able to get into Noodle Tools, okay. Yeah. So basically, we have like 12 minutes, so still take some time to try to maybe get familiar with the databases, websites, looking things around. Another thing that you could certainly do is sign into Google on your computer. If it's the computer you're going to use, you can sign into Google. You can bookmark these sources if you want, so that when you then sign into Google on a separate computer or iPad or whatever, you would also have access to those sources. Another nice thing about Noodle Tools, more often than not, I didn't double check it yet, so let's see. Notice what I have over here. Journal, View Live Web Page. So I click on that View Live Web Page link. It's basically like a bookmark. It'll take me back to that article. So you can also kind of use Noodle Tools as a way to kind of just save some sources and then be able to access them by clicking that link. All right? Okay.